The sun is relentless today, beating down on the sprawling neighborhood of Crestwood Heights. It's the kind of heat that makes the pavement shimmer, the kind that turns an inviting backyard pool into an oasis. I sip my iced tea, watching the crystal blue water ripple gently. This is my moment of peace, my escape. After 20 years in the FBI, I've seen the worst of humanity: drug lords, corrupt officials, domestic terrorists. I've taken them all down. But here, in this quiet, mostly affluent suburb, I let my guard down. Or at least, I try to. I lean back in my chair, scanning my yard. Manicured hedges. A patio with stone tiles imported from Italy. A security system that would put Fort Knox to shame. A far cry from the neighborhood I grew up in. Crestwood Heights is the kind of place where people smile at you in the morning, but keep their prejudices tucked away, subtle but ever present. The only black family on the block? That would be me, the FBI director. A detail conveniently ignored by some of my neighbors, who still glance at me like I don't belong. But I don't let it bother me. At least, not usually. Then I hear it, a splash. At first, I think it's just my imagination. Maybe a squirrel lost its footing, or a bird dipped too close to the water. But then, another splash, louder this time. I sit up, squinting. That's when I see her. A woman, blonde, mid-40s, floating in my pool like she owns the place. I blink. What in the hell? She's stretched out on an inflatable raft, sunglasses perched on her nose, sipping from a can of sparkling water, like this is some five-star resort. A designer swimsuit clings to her like a second skin, and I can already tell exactly what kind of person she is. The kind who throws a fit when the barista gets her order wrong. The kind who calls the HOA over kids riding bikes on the sidewalk. The kind who clutches her purse a little tighter when I walk past her car. I stand, my pulse steady, but a low irritation starts to creep in. I clear my throat. Nothing. I step closer. Excuse me. She barely moves. Just tilts her head back, one eye cracking open behind tinted lenses. Oh, she says lazily, waving a manicured hand. Didn't see you there. Didn't see me? I'm standing less than 5 feet away. This is my property. I say evenly. What are you doing in my pool? She sits up, finally paying attention. For a second, something flickers across her face. Something calculating. But then she gives me a wide, rehearsed smile. Oh my gosh! I thought this was Lindsay's house, she says with a laugh. Silly me. All these pools look the same. That's a lie. My house is the only one with a 10-foot privacy fence and security cameras on every corner. She doesn't get out. Instead, she stretches her arms, sighing dramatically. Well, I was just cooling off. It's a free country, isn't it? Something in my gut tightens. There's an air of entitlement around her, a quiet audacity that tells me she's not sorry. She's testing me, seeing how far she can push. I glance toward my security cameras. Good. It's all recorded. I cross my arms. You need to leave. She scoffs, shaking her head. Oh, relax. It's just water. What's the big deal? The big deal? Before I can respond, she swings her legs over the raft and climbs out, slowly, deliberately. Water drips down her toned arms as she grabs a towel from one of my lounge chairs. My towel. She has no shame, no hesitation, like she's done this 100 times before. And something tells me maybe she has. I watch her closely as she gathers her things, moving with the kind of smugness that only comes from privilege. She doesn't apologize. She doesn't explain. She just flips her hair, slings her designer bag over her shoulder, and strolls toward the gate. Right before she leaves, she turns back, smirking. I don't see why you're so upset, she says. It's not like you own this neighborhood. Then she's gone. I exhale slowly, clenching my jaw. I don't know who she is yet, but I will. And something tells me this isn't over. I don't see her again for a few days, but I feel her presence. It's in the way my mail suddenly goes missing, the way my trash bins are knocked over in the morning, the way I catch glimpses of her, just barely, through the cracks of my fence. At first, I tell myself it's a coincidence. Maybe my mailman is sloppy. Maybe a raccoon got into the bins. Maybe I'm just on edge from years of working in high-stakes investigations. But deep down, I know better. Then, the packages start disappearing. At first, it's just one, a small box from a tech company, nothing urgent. The tracking number says delivered, but there's nothing on my doorstep. Strange, but not impossible. I call the delivery company, file a report. Then it happens again. And again, larger boxes, important documents. Even a shipment of security upgrades I ordered, gone. That's when I check my cameras. The footage is blurry, but the movement is unmistakable. A figure, blonde, slender, lingering near my porch, just out of clear view. She waits, watches. Then, when the coast is clear, she moves fast, slipping onto my property, snatching the box, and vanishing before the motion sensors even register her. My jaw tightens. She's not just entitled, she's bold. I head to my neighbor's house, an older man named Mr. Castillo. Retired, kind-hearted, always willing to chat. He's lived here longer than anyone. When he opens the door, his expression shifts from warmth to concern. Have you noticed anything strange lately? I ask. Anyone snooping around? He hesitates, just for a second. Then, with a sigh, he steps onto his porch, glancing around like someone might be watching. There's a woman, he says, voice lowered. Lives 2 doors down. Marcia Whitman. He leans in slightly. She doesn't like people who don't fit the neighborhood. I feel my jaw clench, but I don't react. I've been here before. I know the type. She ever bother you? I ask. Oh, no, he says quickly, shaking his head. She only picks fights with the one she thinks she can get away with. He gives me a knowing look. But you scare her. That catches me off guard. She doesn't like that you're in law enforcement, he continues. She thinks you don't belong here. And when Marcia doesn't like something, she finds ways to make life difficult. I exhale slowly. So, this isn't random. It's targeted. I thank Mr. Castillo and head home, my mind racing. When I step onto my porch, I catch something out of the corner of my eye, movement near my fence. Then, a voice. Oh, hey. I turn. Marcia, standing in her yard, wearing a wide, plastic smile. You know, she says, tilting her head, I thought I saw some packages over here. Are you sure they weren't just misplaced? Her voice drips with false innocence. I say nothing, but in that moment I know this isn't over. It's just beginning. I don't confront Marcia right away. Not because I'm afraid, no. I've faced men with far more power than her. But I know people like Marcia don't respond to logic or fairness. They respond to control. And right now, she thinks she has it. So I watch. I wait. I document. The next morning, I check the security footage. As expected, she came back, 3:12 a.m., slipping through the gate like a ghost, slipping into my pool like she owns it. It's infuriating. But I don't let the anger cloud my judgment. Instead, I take a copy of the footage and pay a visit to the neighborhood HOA. Resistance begins. The HOA office sits in the heart of the community, a sleek building where complaints go to die. I step inside, greeted by an older woman at the front desk. Linda, if I remember right. She squints at me over her glasses. Can I help you? I nod. I need to file a formal complaint. She exhales like I just ruined her day. Against who? I slide the USB drive across the counter. Marcia Trent. The reaction is instant. Her face tenses. Her mouth opens, then closes. Marcia? Oh, I don't know if that's necessary. She's been a long-time resident here. Right. A long-time resident. Translation. She's white. She's wealthy. She's protected. I lean in, and I'm the legal owner of my home. So either this complaint gets filed, or I escalate it to the authorities. Linda hesitates. Then, reluctantly, she takes a USB. Small victory. But I already know this isn't over. Marcia strikes back. That evening, I return home to find something strange. A letter, stuffed into my mailbox. No postage. It's from the HOA. Dear Mr. Walker, We've received multiple complaints regarding noise disturbances and unapproved modifications to your backyard. If the infractions continue, further action may be taken. I grip the paper tighter. Noise disturbances? Modifications? I've done nothing. This is Marcia's counterattack, weaponizing bureaucracy against me. I step onto my porch, scanning the neighborhood. A few houses down, I spot her, Marcia, standing on her lawn, sipping a glass of wine, watching me, smiling, a silent challenge. She thinks she's winning. Time to push back. The next morning, I'm outside, installing a new sign on my gate. Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I make sure it's big, obnoxious, unavoidable. Marcia struts by moments later, pausing to sneer at it. A bit much, don't you think? I don't even look at her. Not at all. Just making sure everyone understands the law. She scoffs. Maybe you should learn how things work around here. The HOA has rules, you know? Proper landscaping. Approved fencing. We keep this community nice. That word. Nice. Polite code for white. I turn to her, finally meeting her gaze. Marcia, you've been trespassing on my property. I have security footage of you doing it multiple times. If you don't stop, I will press charges. Her lips twitch, but she recovers fast. You wouldn't dare. Oh, I absolutely would. She leans in slightly, voice dropping. Do you know how easy it would be to ruin you? I smile. Try me? She doesn't have a response for that. For the first time, I see it. Hesitation. A flicker of doubt in her eyes. But she's not done. Not yet. The breaking point. The following night, my security system alerts me. Motion detected. I check the cameras. And there she is, standing in my backyard, staring directly into the camera like she wants me to see her. Then, slowly, she lifts her phone, dialing. A cold knot forms in my stomach. Seconds later, my phone vibrates with an unknown number. I answer. A voice crackles through the speaker. Sir, this is a local police department. We receive a report of a suspicious individual on the premises. Are you available to speak? Marcia smiles at the camera, and that's when I realize she's not just trespassing anymore. She's trying to get me arrested. She wants me gone. But what she doesn't know, she just made the biggest mistake of her life. Marcia paces near the edge of my pool, fully clothed now, arms crossed, radiating righteous indignation. The audacity drips off her like the water still clinging to her hair. She called the police. Not just any police. The local officers. The ones she knows. The ones she's probably had over for wine nights and HOA meetings. And now they're here. 2 squad cars pulled up, lights flashing against my house. Neighbors peek from their windows, some standing on porches, murmuring. It's a scene Marcia has orchestrated perfectly. One she assumes will end with me in cuffs, humiliated in front of the entire neighborhood. A black man, a white woman, a story told 1,000 times before. The lead officer steps forward, Officer Daniels, mid-40s, stocky, with a face that screams I don't want to be here. His younger partner lingers behind him, looking uncomfortable. Daniels clears his throat. Sir, we got a call about a disturbance. I fold my arms. A disturbance? You mean the trespassing woman who broke into my backyard and swam in my pool? Marcia gasps dramatically, clutching her chest. Are you serious? I've lived in this neighborhood for years. Everyone knows me. You just moved in and now you're accusing me? Daniel sighs, glancing at her. Ma'am, let's just... But she barrels forward, voice sharp and cutting. I felt unsafe. I was alone, trying to enjoy the pool, and he came out of nowhere. He threatened me. I was scared for my life. She's good. Too good. The cracks in her voice, the tremble of her hands. It's an act, polished and perfected. I see the younger cop's jaw tighten. He knows. Daniels, though? He hesitates. It's enough for Marcia to go in for the kill. I don't know who he really is, she spits. I mean, does he even own this house? Has anyone verified that? Maybe he's squatting. Maybe he's... She doesn't finish that sentence, but she doesn't have to. The implication is clear. I take a slow breath. My pulse is steady, controlled. I've been in interrogation rooms with cartel bosses and corrupt politicians. I've stared down murderers who thought they were untouchable. Marcia? She's nothing but a spoiled child playing pretend. I pull out my phone. Click. A single button press. The mounted speakers in my backyard come to life, and suddenly her voice fills the air. Oh, relax. I was just cooling off. I didn't think you'd mind. The recording is crystal clear. The officers freeze. The neighbors lean in. I could call the real police, you know. Marcia's face drains of color. I tilt my head. That doesn't sound like someone in fear for their life, does it? Silence. Marcia stumbles back, her perfect mask cracking. That's edited. He set me up. I turn to Daniels. I have 4 days' worth of security footage. Motion triggered. Night vision. Every time she broke into my yard, it's recorded. You want to check my system? Be my guest. Daniels looks at his partner. The younger cop nods. Game over. Marcia knows it. She shakes her head, wild now, desperate. You can't do this. He's lying. You're just going to believe him. Daniel sighs. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down. Calm down, she screeches. Do you know who I am? Yes, I say smoothly. You're a trespasser. And now, you're about to be a criminal. Daniels nods, pulling out his notepad. Ma'am, you're under investigation for trespassing and filing a false police report. Marcia's breath hitches. Panic. Full-blown now. No. And oh, this isn't happening. But it is. And for the first time, she's realizing she's not the one in control anymore. She's powerless. And it terrifies her. Marcia thinks she has me trapped. She stands in my backyard, phone pressed to her ear, calling the cops on me, the actual homeowner. She smirks into my security camera, radiating the arrogance of someone who's always gotten away with this kind of thing. But what she doesn't know, I'm ready for her. The cops arrive, and Marcia's plan begins to crumble. The sound of sirens splits the quiet night. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars roll up, red and blue lights flashing against the darkened street. I step onto my porch, arms crossed, waiting. Marcia plays her part beautifully. She rushes toward the officers, voice dripping with manufactured distress. Thank God you're here. I live in this community, and that man, she jabs a manicure finger at me, has been harassing me. He's dangerous. I think he might be a criminal. The officers glance at me. They're already skeptical. Sir, one of them says, can you show us some ID? I don't move. Instead, I let the moment hang, let the tension stretch. Then, slowly I speak. I'd be happy to. I reach into my pocket, pull out my wallet, and hand over my credentials. The officer flips it open, then freezes. His eyes widen as he registers the letters. Federal Bureau of Investigation. I watch the realization hit like a freight train. His posture straightens. His whole demeanor shifts. Sir, Director Walker? Marcia stiffens. Director. She knows she's messed up now. Exposing the lies. I own this house. I say, keeping my voice calm, measured. And I have security footage of her trespassing onto my property multiple times. Marcia starts shaking her head wildly. No, he's lying. I swear he's been intimidating me. He threatened me earlier. I was just trying to check on my friend's house. One of the officers holds up a hand, silencing her. Sir, do you have that footage? I smile. Absolutely. I tap my phone, connecting it to my smart security system. Within seconds, the footage is playing directly on the officer's squad car monitor. Marcia appears on screen. 3 a.m., sneaking into my backyard, slipping into my pool like she owns it. The officers watch in silence. Then comes the real kicker. I pull up the audio recording from my security system, the one capturing everything she said earlier. Do you know how easy it would be to ruin you? People like you don't belong here. I can make one phone call, and you'll be gone. The words crackle through the speakers like gunfire. The officers exchange looks. Marcia goes pale. I I was taken out of context, she stammers. I didn't mean he provoked me. He's twisting. Ma'am, one of the officers interrupts, voice firm. We're going to need you to step away from the property. Her face crumples. No, he's the problem. I was just trying to... Ma'am. The officer's voice hardens. Step away. Marcia's mouth opens, then closes. Panic flickers in her eyes. She knows she's lost. The final blow. The neighborhood is awake now. Porch lights flick on. Curtains rustle. People peek outside, watching the spectacle unfold. Marcia feels the eyes on her. She spent years in this community playing the role of the perfect, affluent homeowner. But now, she's just a racist trespasser caught red-handed. And I'm not done. I turn to the officers. Trespassing. False police report. Harassment. How many charges are we looking at? Marcia gasps. No, you can't. The officer exhales. Enough to warrant an arrest. The moment the words leave his mouth, Marcia breaks. She spins toward the growing crowd. Are you seriously taking a side? She shrieks. You know me. I've lived here for years. This isn't fair. He's not one of us. He doesn't belong here. Her voice is raw, desperate. And the crowd? They say nothing. They just watch. Silent, judging, recording. Marcia's entire world is collapsing, and no one is coming to save her. The officers move in, hands at the ready. Ma'am, turn around. No, this is insane. Turn around. Now. Realization slams into her. This is happening. She tries one last time. I'll sue. I'll ruin you all. My husband knows the mayor. I have connections. The officer ignores her and pulls out the cuffs. Hands behind her back. Click. Metal clamps around her wrists. Marcia Trent, queen of the HOA, ruler of the cul-de-sac, self-proclaimed enforcer of community standards, is getting arrested in front of her entire neighborhood. She screams. She thrashes. But it doesn't matter. The officers shove her into the back of the squad car. The door slams shut. Silence follows. Then movement. Neighbors stepping away from their doors. Retreating inside. They don't want to be associated with her downfall. I watch her through the tinted glass of the patrol car. She meets my gaze, eyes wild with rage and humiliation. I don't say a word. I just turn and walk back into my house. My property, that she will never trespass on again. Marcia is gone. The police car rolls away, her muffled screams fading into the night. The weight of her downfall lingers in the air, heavy and inescapable. Porch lights flick off. Curtains snap shut. Neighbors retreat into their homes, suddenly uninterested in the woman they once called their friend. No one rushes to her defense. No one offers to bail her out. Her power, that unshakable entitlement, the privilege she wielded like a weapon, is shattered. And I step back into my house. My house. My peace. Tonight I won. Marcia's world falls apart. The fallout is swift. By morning, the entire community knows. The videos hit social media fast. Neighbors who have been watching in silence the night before are suddenly eager to upload their recordings. Clips of Marcia screaming, her racist rants. The moment she's handcuffed, it spreads like wildfire. Local news picks up the story. The headline? Affluent woman arrested after calling 911 on Black FBI director in his own home. Her face is everywhere, and the consequences come hard and fast. Her husband, a corporate executive, releases a statement, not defending her, but distancing himself. My wife's actions do not reflect my own beliefs. Effective immediately, she will be stepping down from her involvement in our family business. Translation? She's a liability now. The HOA, once her personal kingdom, votes to remove her. Sponsors from the charity boards she sat on quietly erase her name from their websites. Friends stop returning her calls. By the end of the week, the Trent's house is listed for sale. Marcia Trent, queen of the neighborhood, social elite untouchable, is ruined. The neighborhood reacts. But it's not just about her. This incident forces people to reflect. Some neighbors, people who had stood by while Marcia treated me like a second-class citizen, come knocking at my door. Their faces are tight, their voices low with guilt. I didn't know it was this bad, Mrs. Caldwell, a retired teacher, murmurs. I thought maybe she was just difficult. I should have spoken up sooner. Mr. Patel shakes his head. I never liked the way she treated you, but I figured it wasn't my place. A younger couple, the Parkers, look ashamed. We laughed at her jokes. The ones about certain people moving in. I don't think we realized how ugly she really was. I let them sit with it. Let them feel the weight of their complicity. Then, finally, I say, it's not about what you didn't do. It's about what you do now. And they nod, because they understand. Reclaiming my peace. A week passes. Then, too, the house next door sits empty. The Trents are gone. For the first time in years, I can sit on my porch without feeling watched. I can walk to my mailbox without passive-aggressive comments about who belongs here. Peace. That's what this is. One evening, I lean back in my chair, a cold drink in my hand. As the sun sets over the neighborhood, birds chatter in the trees. A few kids ride their bikes down the sidewalk, laughing. No tension, no stress, just home. Then, Director Walker? I glance up. Mrs. Caldwell stands at the edge of my driveway, clutching a plate of cookies, a peace offering. She shifts awkwardly. I made these for you. I raise an eyebrow. She exhales. I figure it was about time I started being a better neighbor. I let the moment hang. Then, finally, I smile. Come on up, I say. Let's talk. And just like that, something changes. Not everything, not everyone, but something. And that's a start. The end.